Hello everyone. I'm from Japan. I'm Toshio Miyata. 5 years ago, I was a cardiovascular surgeon. In Japan, the approval of the drug and the medical devices is very slow 5 years ago. So, after the approval in the US and 3 years after the approval in Japan, I'm very irritated in the medical hospital. Because of the difference, ethnicity on the environment, medical environment differs, so the American 3 years after in Japan approval. I'd like to introduce to the regulatory and legal framework for offering stem cell therapy in Japan. In general, the ICH, Interprofessional Conference of Harmonization, includes the US and the EU and Japan, so it's very similar framework, GMP or the GLP on the GCP. So, Japan government includes I am in the special advisor in the cabinet, the Prime Minister Abe. I'm now that includes here, and the regulation and the covers by the Minister of Health, Labor and Welfare, similar is the part of the FDA. And then the Minister of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, and for example, the funding of the science of the iPS cell. And so now in Prime Minister Abe is eager to constructing the Japanese version of NIH, submit to be established new independent administrative agency to that. It's the Japanese Congress during next ordinary session. Now the Minister of the Science and the Minister of Health is not a good relationship, so strengthens the partnership between the two ministries. So the Prime Minister Abe submits a bill to establish the Japanese NIH law. By the way, last year, Dr. Yamanaka received the Nobel Prize. So in Japan, very big news in Japan. So she is Dr. Takahashi in Japan. He is ophthalmologist, and he is research of the iPS derives the retinal cell sheets for the very severe retinal disease. It's a very square shape. It's the figure of the regenerative medicine products already approved or in clinical research phase in the various regions. And for example, the United States, the 9 approval products, and about 90 under clinical research, and Europe, the 20 approved products, the 40 under clinical research. Japan is the only 2 approved products, the very slow so, and 4 under registration trial in the following ZCP in the Pharmaceutical Affairs Law is only 4. But in Japan, the Pharmaceutical Affairs Law is regulated by the Minister of Health. It covers the industry's marketing authorization. On the other hand, the medical doctors in Japan is not regulated by the Pharmaceutical Affairs Law. The medical doctor in Japan is freedom of the research of the outside of the Pharmaceutical Affairs Law. It's 65 under clinical research under the stem cell research guideline. But it's very similar to Pharmaceutical Affairs Law. This guidance demands the approval of the IRB and the informed consent, the same. It's the Minister of Health, Labor and Welfare, and the PMDA. The PMDA is confirmatory audits, DLP, GCP, GMP, and the scientific review. And then the review reports the Minister of Health, Labor and Welfare. The ministry gives the approval of the pharmaceutical and the medical device or the regenerative medicine cell products. it's the relationship, the MHLW and the PMDA. It's like it's similar to the FDA's system of the review. The MHLW is responsible in the policy and the measures. It gives a final judgment on approval. On the other hand, the PMDA is mission is approval review of new drugs of the medical devices. Last year, the PMDA constructed the Office of the Cellular and the Tissue-Based Products. Now, in Japan, including the pharmaceuticals, the clinical trials number is increasing now. It's the year of the new GCP published. For example, in the pharmaceutical areas, in Japan, the review speed of the PMDA is very faster 5 years ago. It now is a very similar speed to the FDA. For example, is mogamulizumab. In the indication is refractory CCR4 positive T-cell leukemia. It's a very ultra-orphan disease in Japan and the US or the EU. And the companion diagnostic assay was approved by the MHW simultaneously for the first time in the world. It's the drug in US EMA. It's not unhappy for the US EMEA patients. I think the multi-regional clinical trials important. And it's the Shionogi Pharmaceuticals, the metroreptin indications is lipodystrophy. It's a very ultra-orphan disease. It's this year in first approval in Japan. It is conduct the research IND trials is a medical doctor initiated. The trial is conducted by Kyoto University. So it's the approval in Japan this year. And then the MHLW reformed the Japan GCP ordinance to facilitate research IND trials last year. In Japan, in the GCP ordinance, GCP is harmonized by the US and the EU and the Japan, but in Japan, the very hard paperwork, so we reformed the Japan GCP and the paperless and the IT systems, so it's very easy in Japan. So the global drug development is now the US, the EU, the Japan, the Korea, China, in the phase 1, the simultaneous done, and then the multi-regional clinical trials, phase 2, phase 3, and then the simultaneous submission, the simultaneous approval. It's a very ideal system, I think. Japan is now in this 5 years, PMDA's review, make the system, the strategy consulting on drugs and the medical device. It's similar to the pre-IND consultation of the FDA. And then the early phase clinical trial centers in Japan, it's similar to the CTSA, the Clinical Translational Science Awards, the CTSA NIH program. It's very similar. And last year, the PMDA, the university academia, the personal exchange program, the development guidelines. So the last year started this program, the Regulatory Science Initiative. For example, now the PMDA and the IPS Center in Kyoto University, Dr. Yamanaka, and exchange the program, the human resources. So Dr. Yamanaka received the Nobel Prize, so the Japan government decided to push the regenerative medicine products. We now reform the Pharmaceutical Affairs Law. It's this slide the establishment of the regulation considering unique characteristics of regenerative medicine products. It's number 1 is the establishment of specific definition of the regenerative medicine products. Introduction of the new definition of the regenerative and cellular therapeutic products, apart from pharmaceuticals and the medical devices in the Pharmaceutical Affairs Law. And in the US, the regenerative cellular medicine is categorized the pharmaceuticals or the biologics. And on the other hand, in EMA, cellular products that is categorized the pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceutical regulation is a very hard hurdle for the academia. The phase 1A trial, the phase 1B, those escalations, the phase 2A, the proof of concept, phase 2B, and the phase 3 in the randomized control trial. The 500 patients on the randomized and then approved by the FDA or the EMA. The academia is very angry, is a very long period, and the industry angry is a very high cost around the cost. It's a very issue in US and the EU and in Japan, the same problem. In Japan, we reform the pharmaceutical affairs law, so the there is a unique category for the regenerative cellular medicine. Then the second point is adaptive licensing, approval system for earlier commercialization of the regenerative medicine products. It's the introduction of the tentative approval with condition and the effective period. And then the efficacy and the safety will be further confirmed after tentative approval. It's this slide, the current system is like pharmaceuticals, the phase 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, the phase 3, it's 10 years or the 15 years. So now discussed in the Japanese Congress. Its proposed system is clinical trials, confirmation of the probable benefit and the safety, and then the adaptive license with condition and the marketing, further confirmation of the efficacy and safety, and then the application and the approval or the expiration of the provisional approval, and then marketing. This period, informed consent, the post-market safety measures is done by the farm industry. So the third point is the safety and ethics in the post-market phase. Informed consent, the post-market safety measures, infectious disease, periodic reports, record retention. The reform of the pharmaceutical affairs law will be approved by the national diet soon. I think that this November or December. This law is regulated by the Ministry of Health. It covers industry's marketing. On the other hand, this 2 years ago is the Nature reports. It's a Korean spark inquiry. In Japan, the medical doctors not regulated by the pharmaceutical affairs law. So as a medical doctor is very free to offer the regenerative medicine technology. It's the example is a Korean patient travel to Japan, the medical tourism, received the stem cell therapy in November 2010. He died of the pulmonary embolism as soon as he came back to Korea. It's a very miserable. 3 years ago, it's a very big issue in Japan. So in Japan, the number of the cosmetic surgeon clinic number is very now increasing. So the a lot of people are very worried about the efficacy of the cosmetic regenerative medicine. So now the Prime Minister Abe submits the bill for ensuring regenerative medicine safety. It's 3 points, procedures for providing regenerative medicine. The bill prescribes procedures for providing regenerative medicine, such as prior notification to the authority, the Ministry of Health, in order to ensure safety of the regenerative medicine. Second, the permitting notification system for a cell-processing facility, even if this facility exists in the hospital or the clinic. Third point is the measures for appropriate provision of regenerative medicine, informed consent, the protection of the personal information, reports the adverse events to the authority, it's the Ministry of Health. This law regulates the medical doctors and the hospital, the clinic in Japan. And the same timing, this approved in Japan, the Japanese Congress. So in summary, the last slide, one point is very important. I think the simultaneous global development. Phase 1 trial in Japan, the US, the EU, and the other countries simultaneously in the promotion, global clinical trials is important, I think. Second point is accelerating regular science initiative, the early communication between the MHLW, PMDA, FDA, EMA, and the other regulatory bodies. Second, the harmonization of the guidelines and the regulations. These days, in Japan, Ministry of Health issues guidelines of ensuring the quality of safety of human autologous induced iPS cell, iPS cell, and but not harmonized in the FDA on the EMA. So the harmonization of guidelines and the regulation is very important. Then the simultaneous approval in the various countries. The high hurdle of the pharmaceutical regulation, I think, induced the improved the offering regenerative medicine, I think. So thank you very much.
And I just want to mention, back in September, actually CIRM, in conjunction with the Alliance for Regenerative Medicine and 3 other sponsors, held an international workshop with regulatory bodies from around the world, including Japan, Europe, Canada, and the United States, to talk about some of the issues in moving regenerative medicine products forward and thinking about things that were divergent and the types of issues we might be able to work on. And we're working on a white paper from that workshop, and hopefully we can put that together pretty soon. The next speaker for this panel is Dr. Maria de Jesus Medina, and she's going to talk about the regulatory and legal frameworks in Mexico.